The salt air hit me first, thick and unrelenting, carrying the crash of waves that never stopped pounding. I'd come back to this place after everything fell apart, my marriage, the city job that chewed me up, needing the kind of silence only the ocean gives, broken by honest work. Hauling nets or fixing docks, that's how I buried the failures, one knot at a time. Then her car pulled up, sleek black against the gravel, and she stepped out. Victoria, the CEO, whined whipping her coat like it didn't belong. She stood there, posture straight as a boardwalk rail, staring at the sea like it owed her answers. I watched from the shed, feeling the pull already. This isolation was my refuge, but with her here, it felt like a trap closing in. Morning light cut through the fog as I loaded supplies onto the cart, coils of rope, tins of paint, tools that had seen more storms than promises. The hotel grounds stretched along the cliff, wild grass bending under the spray, and I moved through it all with the rhythm I knew. Lift, secure, repeat. No room for distractions, not when the tide could shift everything in a breath. That's when she arrived for good. Not just a glimpse. Victoria Hayes, booking the top suite like it was a boardroom reservation, her voice on the phone crisp, demanding privacy and control over every detail. The linens, the view, even the damn temperature. I didn't meet her at first. Let the front desk handle it. But by noon, I was up on the ladder by her balcony, tightening a loose shutter that rattled in the wind. Salt had warped the hinges years ago, and it needed steady hands, not impatience. She appeared there, leaning on the rail, arms crossed like she was assessing a merger. Her suit was tailored sharp, but the ocean mist clung to it already, softening the edges. "You're the caretaker?" Her tone was professional, probing, like she expected a resume. I kept my eyes on the screw, turning it slow. "Yes." She waited, the pause stretching like low tide. "This place is rustic. How long have you worked here?" "Long enough." My hands stayed busy, the metal cool and familiar under my palms. No need to fill the silence with small talk. The waves did that. She shifted, her shadow falling across the ladder. "I'm Victoria. I'll be here indefinitely. If there's anything I need, repairs, adjustments, come to me directly." I nodded, not looking up. Her intensity pulled at me, that focused gaze like a current dragging you under. Sharp features, dark hair pinned back, but her eyes held something raw, exhaustion flickering behind the command. It stirred something I didn't want. Attraction, sharp as sea glass, clashing with the fear of getting tangled in someone who'd leave when the wind changed. Outsiders always did, taking their pieces and vanishing. The day dragged on like that, her watching from windows as I hauled driftwood from the beach, muscles burning steady. She tried once more that afternoon, stepping out to the path where I was clearing overgrowth. "The air here, does it ever let up?" "Gets worse before better." Short to the point. I clipped another branch, the snap echoing. She lingered, hands in her pockets. "You don't say much. Work talks louder." Inside, my chest tightened. Her presence was a weight, not heavy like wet rope, but insistent, like the tide testing the shore. I wanted to ask why she'd come, what drove a woman like her to hide in a place like this, but entanglement meant risk, and I learned the hard way. Truth binds tighter than any chain. By evening, clouds gathered low, the sky bruising purple. The storm was coming, wind already whipping salt into my face as I secured the outdoor chairs, lashing them down with ropes that bit into my hands. She emerged then, coat flapping, insisting on helping despite the spray. Her fingers fumbled the knots, unaccustomed to the rough twist, but she didn't complain. Our eyes met, once, brief, and I saw the fatigue crack her facade. Just a flash, gone quick. I pulled back, focusing on the task, the physical pull of the work grounding me. But the storm was closing in, forcing us closer whether I liked it or not. The wind picked up like a warning, gusts slamming the chairs against the patio stones before I could tie them down. Salt spray stung my cheeks, mixing with sweat as I wrestled the ropes, fingers numb from the cold bite. The ocean roared closer, waves crashing high against the cliffs, foam whipping up like it wanted to claim the whole hotel. I'd seen storms like this, Swallow docks whole. Leave nothing but splintered wood and regret. No time for thinking, just doing. Loop the line, pull tight, not secure. That's what kept you alive out here. She came out again, Victoria, her coat soaked through in seconds, hair escaping its pin to stick against her neck. "Let me help," she said, voice cutting through the howl. She grabbed a chair leg, trying to drag it toward the stack I'd built, but the wind caught it, slamming it back. Her hands slipped, red from the effort, unpracticed at anything that fought back. I didn't stop her, watched instead the way her shoulders tensed under that expensive fabric, breath coming sharp. "Like this," I said finally, stepping close to show her the rope's twist. Our arms brushed, her skin warm against the chill, and something shifted in the air, thicker than the mist. She met my eyes then, longer than before, and I saw the cracks, lines around her mouth from holding everything in, exhaustion like shadows under her gaze. Not the CEO anymore, just a woman fighting something bigger than her. "Thanks," she muttered, fumbling the knot but getting it close. The waves thudded below, a rhythm that matched the thud in my chest. I wanted to ask what chased her here, what made her grip that rope like it was her last hold. But questions opened doors, and I'd boarded mine shut after too many goodbyes. Instead, I pulled away, hauling the last umbrella into the shed, the door banging shut behind me. She followed a few steps, wind tearing at her coat. "You always work alone in this?" "When it needs doing." My voice stayed flat, hands busy coiling the extra line. The sky darkened fast, rain starting in sheets that blurred the horizon. Lightning cracked, illuminating her face. Pale, determined, like she was used to storms and glass towers, not out here where they hit bone deep. We moved together then, silent, securing the final benches. Her breaths came ragged, but she didn't quit, wiping spray from her eyes with a sleeve that probably cost more than my monthly wage. The pull grew, that unspoken thing between us, heavy as the air before thunder. I felt it in my gut, the way her nearness disrupted the work's steady pulse. Fear flickered. Entanglement, the kind that left you adrift when they sailed away. But the storm didn't care about my walls. It drove us closer, shoulders nearly touching as we braced against the next gust. By the time we finished, the rain hammered full force, turning the paths to mud. She stood there, drenched, looking at me like she saw the same pull. I turned first, heading inside, the weight of her gaze following like the tide. The power cut out mid-stride, plunging the hotel into dark that swallowed the halls whole. Only the storm's flashes lit the way. Blue-white bursts showing empty lounges, rain lashing the windows, like fists. I moved by feel, years of blackouts guiding me to the supply closet, pulling lanterns and matches from the shelf. The air inside turned thick. Candle smoke, mixing with damp wool as I lit the first one. Flame, steady in my hand. Coastal nights like this demanded calm. Panic just made the dark heavier. Victoria found me in the lobby, her silhouette sharp against the lightning. "Everything secure outside?" Her voice echoed soft in the quiet. No boardroom edge now. "Enough." I handed her a lantern, our fingers brushing, hers cold, trembling slight from the chill. She took it, holding it high, the light carving shadows across her face. We walked the corridors together, checking locks and windows, the flames glow bouncing off wet glass. Silence hung between us, broken by thunder that rattled the beams. She stopped at a fuse panel, peering in. "Should we reset something?" "Generator's the fix. Out back." I led the way, boots squelching on the tile, her heels clicking uneven behind. In the glow, I caught her glancing, curious, probing, like she wanted to map my detachment. "You handle this alone often?" she asked, voice lowering as rain drummed the roof. "When the power goes." "No more, no less." The work grounded me, lantern swinging steady as we crossed the veranda. Wind howled through cracks, but inside, the space felt smaller, her presence filling it like smoke. Back in the dim kitchen, empty now, guests long evacuated for the season. She set the lantern down, rubbing her arms. "This place, it strips everything bare, doesn't it?" Her words came slow, candlelight softening her edges. Back in the city, I control the lights, the deals, the days. Here, it's all, unpredictable. I paused, matches in hand for another light. Her voice cracked just then, vulnerability slipping through like light under a door. Burnout, I guessed, the kind that came from chasing shadows in suits. The ocean doesn't negotiate, I said, striking the match, flame blooming warm. She leaned on the counter, eyes on the flickering wick. I came here to unplug. Bored breathing down my neck, endless calls. Thought isolation would fix it. A pause, her fingers tracing the wood grain. But it's louder in the quiet, isn't it? All the noise inside. The pull hit hard then, her rawness a weight in my chest like hauling anchor in rough seas. I saw her, not the title, but the woman fraying at the seams, needing something real to hold. Attraction twisted sharp, fear chasing it. I'd let someone in once, watched them shatter on these rocks. Storms pass, I murmured, turning away to check the windows. But inside, the heavy pull lingered, her words echoing like waves in a cave. Stay a minute, she said, soft, almost a plea. But I couldn't. Not yet. Generator first. I grabbed the toolkit, slipping out into the rain, leaving her in the glow. The dark swallowed me, but her vulnerability clung, a tide I couldn't outrun. The generator hummed back to life with a cough, lights flickering on across the hotel like hesitant breaths. Rain eased to a drizzle by morning, leaving the ground slick and heavy, paths choked with fallen branches and sodden leaves. I started early, shears in hand, trimming the overgrown hedges along the cliff trail. Snip, drag, repeat. The work pulled at my shoulders, steady ache that cleared my head, salt air mixing with the sharp green scent of cut stems. No guests this season, just the sea's endless push, and now her, Victoria, watching from the veranda again, coffee mug steaming in her grip. She came down that first clear day, steps careful on the wet stone. Mind if I join? Her voice carried that edge like she was negotiating terms. I glanced up, saw her in slacks and a blouse, sleeves rolled uneven, no coat this time. The mist clung to her hair, darkening it. Suit yourself. I handed her a pair of gloves, thick leather ones scarred from years of thorns. She pulled them on, flexing her fingers, then took the shears I offered. We worked side by side, the trail narrowing us close, her cuts hesitant at first, branches snapping back wild. Frustration built in her jaw. A tight line I recognized, the kind from fighting something that wouldn't bend to will. This seems endless, she said, wiping sweat from her brow, a streak of dirt smudging her cheek. In the city, problems have deadlines, solutions you can schedule. Here, it grows back. My voice stayed low, focused on the next limb. But inside, her nearness stirred the air, warm against the chill damp. I watched her hands, precise but unyielding, the way they gripped like they expected the hedge to sign a deal. Isolation hung on her, thick as the fog rolling in, her eyes distant when she paused, staring at the waves below. By midday, we shifted to the beach, clearing driftwood piled high from the storm, twisted logs heavy with seaweed, salt-crusted and unyielding. She bent to lift one, grunting as it slipped, bruising her palm. Damn it! No polish now, just raw effort, her blouse sticking to her back. I hauled the bigger pieces, muscles burning familiar but helped with hers, our arms brushing again, skin to skin through damp fabric. The contact lingered, electric as static before lightning, pulling at something deep in my gut. We broke for lunch in the empty kitchen, silence settling thick as ocean fog between us. I sliced bread, cheese, poured water from the jug. Simple, no frills. She sat across, picking at her plate, eyes on the window where gulls wheeled. City expectations, she said finally, voice soft. They weigh like lead. Meetings that drag, decisions that echo empty. Out here, it's different. Honest, somehow. I nodded, chewing slow. The sea doesn't lie. Crashes hard, pulls back true. No fine print. Dry words, but they landed heavy, mirroring the pull in my chest. Her laugh earlier, short and surprised when she'd botched a knot tying bundles, the sound light like foam on waves. It caught me. That glimpse of ease, attraction sharpening like a blade on whetstone, but fear coiled tight. Her world called her back, always did. leaving salt in the wounds. Afternoon dragged us to the dock, ropes needing reknotting after the surge. She tried one, fingers fumbling the loop, and laughed again. Real this time, head tilting back, exposing the line of her throat. I'm hopeless at this. Our eyes met, hold lengthening, the air thickening with unspoken want. I showed her the twist, hands guiding hers, close enough to feel her breath quicken. The touch burned, subtle fire under skin, but I stepped back, coiling the line alone. Entanglement scared me, the way truth here bound you, deeper than any city's contract. As sun dipped low, painting the water gold, she straightened, brushing sand from her knees. Walk with me on the beach? Just to talk. Her tone probed, eyes searching mine, pushing at the distance I'd kept. The request hung, heavy as the incoming tide, drawing me toward the edge. The beach stretched empty under the fading light, sand firm where the tide had pulled back, leaving tide pools like scattered mirrors. I walked beside her, boots sinking slight into the wet pack, the air cooling sharp with brine. Victoria's steps matched mine, deliberate but unpracticed, her shoes kicking up spray from the shallows. She didn't speak at first, just the crash of waves filling the quiet, gulls crying. Overhead, like they knew something we didn't. The pull between us thickened, unspoken, heavy as the fog banks rolling in from the horizon. She stopped at a cluster of rocks, slick with algae, peering into a pool where small crabs scuttled. Why do you keep your distance? Her voice came direct, laced with that concern she couldn't mask, eyes fixed on the water instead of me. From the start, short answers, eyes on the work. I see you watching, but you pull back. Is it me? The job? I crouched beside her, fingers trailing the edge of a rock, cool and rough under my palm. The question hung, pulling at the walls I'd built. Her nearness stirred it all, the way her breath quickened in the wind, the faint scent of her skin cutting through the salt. It's not the job, I said low, watching a wave lap the pool's edge. It's what comes with people like you. Contracts, timelines, then gone when the deal's done. She turned then, knees close to mine, her hand resting on the rock between us. People like me? You mean CEOs? Driven? Disconnected? Her laugh was short, bitter, like wind over stones. I came here to escape that. Boardrooms full of yes men, deals that feel empty after. But you're right, I've built walls higher than these cliffs. The words cracked something in me. I thought of Lena then, unbidden. Flash of her laugh in the city lights, the job that pulled her away. Promises fraying like old rope in the rain. We'd met at that desk job I hated, her ambition a fire that burned bright but left ash. She left for bigger waves, a promotion across the country, our nights together dissolving into calls that faded. The loss hit like a rogue swell, leaving me adrift, back here to the ocean's truth. I've lost someone to that world, I admitted, voice rough. She chased the contracts, the climbs. I stayed, mending what's real. You guard yourself the same, admissions locked behind that stare. But it mirrors mine, doesn't it? The fear of staying put. Victoria's hand brushed mine over the wet rock. Accidental at first, then lingering, her fingers warm against the chill stone. The touch sent a jolt, like current under skin, pulling me closer despite the fear. She didn't pull away. It does. My last relationship. Another executive, all strategy, no heart. Ended in emails, terms negotiated like a merger. I thought control kept it safe. Her eyes met mine, unflinching now, the green darkening with the dusk. But here, with you, it's different. Raw. I want to bridge this, stay longer, maybe build something, visits, shared time. Not a contract, but a proposal for us. Her words hung, offering a future undefined, like a blueprint sketched in sand. I felt the weight of it, heavier than the rocks we touched. Truth pressing in where deals fell short. Our hands stayed linked, tide pooling around our knees, the water cold and insistent. Attraction burned steady, her guarded admissions echoing my own scars, but the fear coiled. Would she sail away too, leaving the beach empty? Night fell slow, stars pricking the sky as we rose, hands slipping apart, reluctant. Unresolved, the tension clung like mist, drawing us back toward the hotel lights. Inside, a drip echoed from the upper hall. Storm damage, the roof leaking steady. We headed up together, the pull unresolved, tools in hand for the late repairs. The drip started small, a steady plink from the ceiling that grew insistent as we climbed the stairs, flashlights cutting yellow beams through the dim hall. Rain had seeped through the old slates up top, the attic access hidden behind a panel in the suite's loft. I led the way, toolkit banging against my thigh, the air turning musty and close as we pushed into the crawl space. Beams creaked underfoot, dust motes swirling in the light, the ocean's distant roar muffled like a held breath. Victoria followed close, her shoulder brushing mine in the narrow pass, breath warm on my neck. No words yet, just the shared rhythm of steps on warped wood, the tension from the beach still humming between us. I set the light on a rafter, beam pointing up to reveal the leak. Water pooling dark on the insulation, trickling down like veins. Roof's compromised, I said, voice low in the confined space. Need to patch from inside. Seal the seams till morning? She nodded, taking the tarp I handed her, unfolding it with hands that shook slight. Not from cold, but something deeper. We worked in tandem, me on the ladder steadying the sealant gun, her holding the edges, the drip echoing louder now, splattering our boots. Her fingers grazed mine as she passed the caulk, lingering a beat too long, skin electric in the chill. I felt it pull, that thaw starting slow, like ice cracking under spring sun. "Why this place?" she asked suddenly, voice breaking the rhythm, her back to me as she smoothed the tarp. "You could leave, find easier work inland, but you're here, fixing what breaks." I paused, gun hovering, the acrid scent of sealant mixing with her faint perfume, something clean, like rain on stone. The question dug, probing the roots I'd buried deep. "Born to it," I said, squeezing a line of caulk along the seam, watching it bead white. Grew up mending fences on my family's spread down the coast. Nets torn by storms, boats listing in the swell. City pulled me once. Desk job in Portland. Numbers that meant nothing. Felt like chasing smoke. My hands moved steady, the tool familiar, grounding the words. Came back when it hollowed me out. Here, work's tangible. Fix the leak, it holds. No abstracts. No power plays that shift like sand. She turned then, ladder creaking under my weight, her eyes catching the light, green shadowed, searching. "Tangible," she echoed, setting the tarp aside, hands trembling as she gripped a loose shingle. "My empire's all abstracts. Built it from nothing. Startups in garages, deals closed at dawn. Billions on paper, but it feels empty, like holding water in your fists." Her voice, cracked raw edge slipping through, and she fumbled the tool, metal clanging soft on the beam. I reached down, steadying her hand on the rung, our palms pressing warm, the touch lingering like fog on glass. Her fingers curled slight, not pulling away, the thaw deepening, vulnerability blooming in that grip, her breath quickening against my arm. Inside, fear twisted sharp, a knot in my gut like rope gone slack. This closeness invited it all, the departure I knew too well, her world calling her back to glass towers and endless flights. I'd seen it before, lovers vanishing into the horizon, leaving the shore scoured clean. But her eyes held mine now, unflinching, the tremble in her hand mirroring the one in my chest. "I pushed too hard today," she murmured, thumb tracing my knuckle absent. "On the beach, offering plans like it's a merger. But it's not. You see through it. The mask, the control." The confession hung heavy, attic air thickening, our faces close in the low light, breaths mingling salt and sealant. I nodded, releasing her hand slow, the warmth fading, but the pull staying. "Truth here's heavier," I said, climbing down to grab more supplies, the ladder groaning. "Binds you whether you sign or not." We patched on, silent settling companionable now, her movements surer beside me, the leak slowing to drips. By the time we finished, sweat beaded our skin despite the chill, the roof holding tentative. She wiped her hands on her pants, smearing caulk, and met my gaze again. Thawed, open, the CEO facade cracked wide. We descended quiet, the hotel still dark below, but dawn edged the horizon gray, light seeping through cracks. Her phone buzzed then, insistent from her pocket. City pulling already, voices demanding on the line. I felt the bond test, fragile as new seal, her hand brushing mine one last time before she answered, the fragile thaw hanging in the balance. Dawn light filtered through the veranda doors, gray and thin, as Victoria's phone kept buzzing like an angry hornet. She paced the length of the porch, bare feet silent on the salt-worn boards, her free hand gripping the rail hard enough to whiten her knuckles. I lingered in the kitchen doorway, wiping sealant from my hands with a rag, the acrid smell still clinging to my skin. The ocean stretched calm now, waves lapping gentle after the night's fury, but her voice cut sharp through the quiet, clipped words about projections, deadlines, board members, demanding her return. No, I can't commit yet. Handle it internally. Her shadow stretched long across the floorboards, the city pulling her like an undertow I knew too well. I turned away, grabbing the bucket for beach cleanup, but her world encroached already. That shadow of contracts and calls seeping in like high tide over rocks. It stirred the old ache. Lena's voice on the line, promises dissolving into static, her ambition dragging her east, while I mended nets alone. Victoria's tone hardened with each exchange, the not fragile thaw from the attic, cracking under the weight. I stepped out, boots crunching gravel, heading down to the shore where debris littered the sand like broken promises, splintered planks, tangled kelp, shells crushed underfoot. She caught up mid-morning, phone silenced at last, her face drawn tight as driftwood. They want me back. Crisis in acquisitions. Deals unraveling without me. We knelt together then, sorting the wreckage, her hands sifting sand for salvageable bits, mine hauling heavier loads to the cart. The labor calmed the air between us, muscles pulling steady, the rhythm of lift and toss drowning the unspoken. But tension coiled in her shoulders, every piece she lifted tossed harder than needed. I could structure this, she said suddenly, voice probing again, eyes on a knotted rope half buried. Visits, weekends here, calls minimized, boundaries clear, like a partnership agreement. We define terms, make it work without the chaos. I paused, kelp dripping cold from my fingers, the proposal landing heavy as wet sand. Boundaries like that? My tone stayed even, but inside it twisted. Fear of becoming another clause, signed and filed away. You draw lines in the city, but here they wash out with the tide. I don't sign for half measures. Truth doesn't negotiate schedules. She straightened, sand clinging to her knees, frustration flashing in her eyes like sunlight on waves. Our argument built quiet, words traded over the debris, her defending control as protection, me pushing back on the illusion, the labor between us grounding the barbs. Her hand slammed a plank too hard, splintering it further, breath coming ragged. You think I want this pull? The board? The empire? It's all I know. But leaving you here, it guts me. The words hung, her resistance cracking as we worked on, the cart filling slow. High tide had receded, leaving the beach scoured clean in patches, mirroring the shift in her, frustration easing into something raw. We dragged the last load up the path together, shoulders brushing, sweat mixing with salt on our skin. At the top, she stopped, turning to me, eyes meeting mine, unflinching green depths, holding fear like storm clouds. I'm scared of losing it all. The control, the certainty. Out here with you, I don't know who I am without the title, but walking away, that's losing more. Her admission landed soft, a turning point in the breeze, hand steady now as she gripped the cart's edge. The bond tested, but holding, fragile thread against the encroaching world. Evening crept in, sun dipping low, casting the beach in amber. We built a fire there, driftwood crackling under starlit sky, flames drawing us closer for the raw honesty waiting in the glow. The fire snapped and settled, flames licking the driftwood we'd gathered, casting orange flickers across the sand. Smoke curled lazy into the night, carrying the sharp tang of salt and charred pine. We sat close, knees almost touching, the heat pushing back. The ocean's chill. Victoria poked at the embers with a stick, sparks rising like brief stars. Her face softened in the glow. The day's labor clung to us, dirt under nails, salt stiffening our clothes. But here, in the fire's circle, it felt right. Grounding. She stared into the flames, shoulders hunched slight, the day's tension uncoiling slow. Ambition carved me out, she said finally, voice low, breaking like waves on hidden rocks. Started with nothing. Scholarships, late nights in cramped offices, proving I belonged in rooms full of men who saw me as the exception. Her stick snapped in her grip, the crack sharp. Climbed high, deals stacking like these logs, each one heavier. But it left scars. Relationships burned out fast. Partners who couldn't match the pace or who wanted the title more than me. She paused, eyes distant, the firelight carving shadows on her cheeks. Last one ended in a conference call, her voice flat as she listed reasons, like I was a failed acquisition. I watched her, the words landing heavy, stirring my own buried aches. The fire warmed my palms, rough from ropes, and I shifted closer, our arms brushing. Her skin was hot through her shirt, real and alive. Sounds like chasing wind, I murmured, voice steady. You build empires on paper, but they shift when the tide hits. Seen it pull folks under, good people fraying at the edges. Empathy rose quiet, not pity but recognition, the kind that came from mending what's torn. I added a log, the wood hissing as flames took hold, mirroring the thaw in her posture. She turned then, eyes meeting mine across the fire, green depths reflecting the blaze. And you? That distance you keep. It's not just work. It's armor. Her words probed gentle, smoke drifting between us, thick with subtext. The attraction hung there, unspoken but heavy, like the weight of unspoken wants, in the dark. I felt it pull, her gaze tracing my face, the silence stretching taut. It's both, I admitted, hands opening to the heat, fingers flexing. Lost someone to the chase once. She promised roots, but ambition dragged her away, left me holding empty nets. The confession slipped out, raw as the smoke stinging my eyes. Our shoulders touched now, deliberate, the contact sending warmth deeper than the fire. Her breath, hitched slight, leaning in, the air between us charged, confessions weaving like the flames' dance. But you see the work, not just the view. That pulls harder than I expected. Attraction confessed in glances, subtext, heavy as the drifting haze, her hand inching toward mine on the sand. She covered my fingers with hers, grip firm, the touch igniting, slow. I feel it too. This place, it's unraveling me, no contracts, just this. Her voice softened, thumb tracing my knuckle, silence louder than words, speaking of wants buried deep. The fire crackled on, but inside, my resolve hardened against the flight instinct, the urge to pull back fading under her steady hold. Truth bound us here, heavier than leaving ever could. We sat like that, hands linked, flames dying to embers as stars wheeled overhead. The ocean whispered below, a steady rhythm matching our breaths. But morning brought the world crashing back. A sharp knock at the hotel door, urgent voices complaining of flooded rooms from the night's leak, guests demanding fixes before checkout. The crisis pulled us up, stakes rising with the sun, emotional threads tested in the light. The knock rattled the hotel door like thunder rolling back in, pulling us from the embers' warmth. I wiped sand from my hands, boots heavy on the path as we approached, the morning sun already sharp over the waves. Voices spilled out. 3 guests, early arrivals for a charter boat tour, faces pale under wide hats. Their captain had radioed from offshore. Engine failed in the swell. Boat listing bad. Rough seas, tossing them like driftwood. "We paid for safety," one snapped, phone clutched tight, demanding fixes now. The ocean churned below, whitecaps breaking hard, the kind of water that swallowed lines whole if you weren't quick. I moved without thinking. Years of coastal calls guiding me, grabbed the radio from the shed, tuned to the locals channel, voice steady over static. Harbor! This is Cliffside. Charter down. 3 souls. Position 2 miles out. Send the cutter. I'll coordinate from shore. Replies crackled back. Fishermen rousing, lines ready, the rescue boat prepping at the dock. I directed it all, mapping currents in my head, the winds bite on my neck as I pace the veranda, signaling positions with flags snapped taut. No panic, just the rhythm of doing. Secure the tow, watch the horizon, trust the pull of the tide to guide them home. Victoria stood beside me, arms crossed, tight, her phone buzzing again in her pocket like a trapped fly. She watched, eyes flicking between the sea and my hands on the radio, the grounded pull of it all etching lines on her brow. I could call my contacts, she said low, pulling the device out, screen lighting her face. Private chopper from the city or the Coast Guard on speed dial. Faster than this. Her voice carried that edge, the urge to control flooding back. City obligations whispering through the line. Another crisis. Board waiting. Deals teetering without her command. But the sea didn't wait for helicopters. I turned, meeting her gaze, the radio warm in my grip. Locals know the water's bones. Trust the work, not the wallet. She hesitated, thumb hovering over the call button, torn, her world pulling one way, the horizon demanding the other. The guests paced nearby, murmurs rising, but I kept focus, relaying updates as the cutter's horn echoed faint, cutting through the foam. She pocketed the phone slow, stepping closer, her shoulder brushing mine in the wind, witnessing the steady handoff. Boat sighted, lines thrown, voices over the air confirming the tow. By noon they were safe, dripping on the dock as I helped. Secure the lines, salt water pooling at our feet. Victoria knelt too, unasked, her hands steadying a fender, the labor pulling her in despite the pull from her pocket. Buzz after buzz. City, insistent. We worked the afternoon then, repairing the charter's minor damage on the slip, patching hull seams, coiling ropes slick with brine, muscles aching in the sun's climb. Silence built between tasks, her breaths matching mine. But the tension simmered, her glances heavy with the unspoken divide. You choose this every time, she said finally as we wiped down the deck, tools clinking soft, her voice cracked slight, eyes on the waves receding calm. The reel over the reach, but me, I'm split, loyalties pulling like these tides, board crisis escalating, one word from me and it's fixed. Or I stay, delegate, commit here. She straightened, hands gripping the rail, knuckles white. What if I can't? What if the empire crumbles without me holding it? I set the rag down, facing her full, the dock creaking under us. Divided, you lose both. City's a shadow, chases you, but doesn't hold. Here, you build what's solid or it washes out. The challenge hung, direct, my chest tight with the fear of her choice, the bond we'd forged testing against her world. Her eyes searched mine, unflinching now, the green depths swirling like the sea below. Wind tugged her hair, loosening it, and she exhaled slow, phone silent at last as she silenced it. Deliberate. No more splits, she murmured, hand finding mine on the rail, grip firm as the wood. I'll delegate. Let them handle the storm. Commit to this moment, to us. The revelation settled quiet, her choice a weight lifting, eyes clearing as she leaned in, forehead to mine brief. We turned back to the work then, side by side through the afternoon, sanding rough edges, the repair building steady, resolution threading through the salt air like a new line cast true. Sunset bled orange across the water, turning the dock's splintered planks to gold as we worked final repairs. Victoria's hands, calloused now from the day's haul, sanded edges smooth beside mine, the rasp steady against the creak of waves below. She tossed her phone into the toolbox, screen dark, a quiet discard like shedding old skin. Exhaustion settled, companionable, sweat cooling on our necks, the labor forging promises wordless, her shoulder against mine, breaths sinking with the tide's pull. I see it now, she murmured, wiping sawdust from her palms, eyes on the horizon. Building here with you, roots deeper than any deal. The weight lifted, Truth lightening as connection rooted, our future sketched in salt and wood. Her retreat extended, hands joined in the fading light, mending what lasted. Our fingers intertwined against the dying sun, ocean whispering approval. Choosing vulnerability over isolation felt like coming home. If you felt a truth heavier than words, share below. Subscribe for more stories of finding home in raw places.